We live in an era where digitization is driving transformation across industries, and e-commerce is no exception. According to a report by FICCI, the Indian e-commerce market is expected to reach $120 billion by 2026. Emerging tech like AI, data analytics, and ease of online payments are driving the e-commerce revolution in India. The demand for consumer electronics has roared back in the last few weeks, owing to the festive season, attractive deals, and discounts. Today, on Forbes India Presents Democratizing E-commerce powered by GoKwik, we have with us Mr. Gaurav Khatri, co-founder Noise, and Mr. Chirag Taneja, CEO GoKwik, to discuss latest consumer trends, strategies to enhance consumer experiences, and demands during the festive season, and much more. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Gaurav, let me come to you first. Consumer electronics is one of the key segments in the D2C market that's showing a lot of promises, as well as, of course, high competition. How did sort of a Noise become one of the leading wearable electronic brands in India?
I mean, if you would have asked me this question a couple of years back, I think very limited people believed that the electronics brand or the consumer electronic brands can be the brands in D2C space also. Everybody was, just rolling us out because of the global giant. But yeah, I think last few years have been really, really good for Noise. And the reason behind it primarily would be the kind of consumer centricity that we have kept. We have always been trying ourselves to be very, very close to the consumer, understanding what is happening in the market, how consumer behavior is changing. We have seen it very closely pre-COVID versus how it has changed post-COVID. The acceptance of the category has, just crossed the roof. And now I think one is the consumer centricity. Second is the overall R&D and the tech innovation piece that Noise has now been able to solve for the masses of the country. And now we are co-creating products with them. We're spending a lot of time with the consumer, understanding the different use cases and trying to solve with them. I think one of the reasons is also the portfolio and the limits of, the n number of products that we could create for each individual use case in a very short time. All those things have helped us in terms of taking the market share. Now, fortunately, from last 8 quarters, we are the number one smartwatch brand.
Right. Chirag, how have you seen the D2C space evolve since the time you've entered the space? And what segments, are seeing, immense growth these days?
First of all, let me congratulate Gaurav on building such a fantastic brand, which is a category creator and, has been number one, at least for what he said, eight consecutive quarters. It's a feat in itself, in the category in which they compete. Coming to your question in terms of, I come from a world where I used to run Bombay Shaving Company. And, in 2019, and as Gaurav would also agree, that there were at least two camps there were clear two camps which used to say that D2C in India won't exist as it doesn't exist in China. And, we have all traveled the journey in the last 2 years to now everyone's starting to believe that in India, e-commerce will happen outside of Amazon, Flipkart also. So it's been all of this, of course, as Gaurav also said, that got accelerated due to COVID. What would have happened in, let's say, 4 or 5 years has happened in the 2 years, so which has become a reality. And I have held this view from day one that, India is a heterogeneous country. And in spite of, even if Amazon, Flipkart wanted to serve everyone and all their needs, they would not have been able to do that because the sheer nature of the market. It's very, very different. And hence, we would have seen D2C come up, just that it got accelerated due to COVID. So in segments, of course, electronics and wearables as a category, of course, continues to grow. It's still, I think Gaurav might have exact numbers in terms of penetration, but it's still a category which is under-penetrated, continues to grow fast. So that's one segment which is seeing scale. I think it fits well in the criteria of good AOV and lower CACs and the penetration continuing to increase. So that's one category, followed by beauty and personal care. Of course, that's exploding.
Gaurav, let me come to you here. Gaurav, how are you expecting the wearable segment to sort of shape up in the future? And what are some of the consumer trends that you see, and how will you be leveraging those insights for your product and the business?
So I think wearable is still in a very nascent stage in the country. If I have to give you some number, till last calendar year, smartwatches were sold at a 2% penetration of the smartphones. That's how the industry is comparing them, right? Versus if you take the bigger names like US, China, I think these people are more penetrated, more than like 15-20% also. So there's a huge headroom that is available in the country. And I think first of all, the kind of age that Indian consumer have will of course have higher penetration than any other countries, because everybody is, ready to explore things and getting more advanced in terms of using the technology products. Number two is with respect to how everybody has become very, very health conscious, very, very tech savvy, in terms of everybody wants a gadget around them to, simplify their life. So we are expecting smartwatches to be the nerve center for the overall gadget ecosystem, where you'll be able to control a lot of things in a BAU day.
In that sense, do you see, competition sort of heating up very soon now, new entrants sort of entering that space?
See, good part about this category is, of course, so in India, first of all, I think in India, whatever sells most, everybody, you will see 10 competition. It's just not this category. You will pick up any category, fashion, you pick up cosmetic, beauty, coffee, anything. I have not seen a single category where if one brand gets success, there will be 10 more brands. And like Chirag also mentioned, the good part is that we are huge in population, and there is a different use case that every brand is serving for. So there's a space for a lot of brands. There will be a play there also. But, as a brand, what we are doing today is to, create the sustainability towards evolving ourselves into more innovation, more technology, building up R&D centers. We have recently incubated a innovation arm by the name of Noise Labs, where we are doing all those experiments of R&D, creating more futuristic products. I think that will help us to, be ahead in the market.
Let me bring in Chirag here. Chirag, you've seen the D2C sector, of course, growing as an e-commerce channel in the last few years closely. Accelerated, of course, by the pandemic and digitization. While we spoke about, the trends that are, of course, emerging, what are some of the key pain points or challenges that you observe in the D2C segment?
Oh, I think I can go on. This is a question which is very, very topical to me, and I can go on this one. I think the way to look at this is, let's look at, the genesis of consumer purchase journey. In India, specifically, consumer e-commerce journeys have begun on Amazon, Flipkart, right? And as a consumer, you are habituated that this is the de facto e-commerce shopping experience. Now, when you go on D2C brands, you suddenly realize that this experience is not the same, right? And typically, the way we look at this is that e-commerce has 5 broad buckets. It starts with discovery, followed by selection, and then conversion, retention, and fulfillment. These are 5 broad buckets, and you have problem, and you can start to think about it that the way you would discover a product on Amazon is very difficult to discover a product on a D2C brand today. Example being that consumers have started to ask us that every new brand today says that we are organic or we are natural. How do we believe that this is organic or this is natural?
Okay.
As I said, that there are some obvious problems which are there, but as e-commerce proliferates deeply, there are many hidden problems across these 5 buckets. India being India, logistics is a nightmare. And then, we are tropically situated in that part of the globe where weathers keep changing. So it's highly unpredictable. And then our shopping seasons are lopsided where, 40%, 50% of the revenues will happen in this quarter. So it makes it even more tougher for logistics to be at the same quality, wherein Amazon is able to predict that we are going to deliver this order tomorrow. Whereas in the D2C world today, even giving an expected delivery date is a problem, right? So, and similarly, if I come to conversions, so abandoned carts is a problem. Then, in India, cash on delivery is very heavy. So imagine that after such a big digitization effort by our Prime Minister and the government, still we are looking at, 65-70% of e-commerce orders being cash on delivery. and that cash on delivery problem has a fraud and abuse problem associated with it. So that becomes, and we have spoken to some small budding entrepreneurs who have stopped their business because of this problem. It's so grave. Similarly, as I said about logistics, and similarly, the growing pain today is that we have a huge dependency in India on today on Facebook as a channel in terms of driving new customers. So, which leads to that everyone advertises on Facebook or Meta, and leads to a CAC problem that same user is their whole feed is taken over by advertisers, and everyone is fighting for that one slot. So leads to a CAC problem. Uh, what it means is that, and as markets have turned, it forces everyone to play a lot more focus on retention as a theme, and building repeats, etc., which is great for, which was at least people are avoiding that answer in 2021, but now everyone has started to answer that question. But many problems, if you start to compare it from that lens, that what you get on Amazon, imagine that, you get an instant refund on Amazon. You don't even now care to check that whether they've credited your account or not. We have reached that stage. Whereas if you go to the non-Amazon, non-Flipkart world, it's still at that stage where, we are at 2015. And these are hard, product tech problems to be solved for. This is what, this world needs to solve for e-commerce to continue to grow outside of Amazon, Flipkart.
Gaurav, let me throw that same question to you as well. What are some of the key pain points or challenges that you observe in the D2C space, and also sort of take me through what are you doing to sort of alleviate the challenges at Noise?
If you meet any founder or any young or old brand in D2C space, who are of course promoting themselves on their own website, but also competing somehow in Amazon and Flipkart, right? Giving that kind of experience is of course a biggest challenge for any brand. The one thing that probably Chirag has not double clicked on is the logistics part, where I can give you some understanding that now Amazon predicts so well that they will deliver the products in these many hours, and most of the time they do also. But now this quick commerce has come in, right? People are now wanting their product deliveries in half an hour, and these habits are somehow going to impact the overall consumer behavior. And I think in the long term, it is going to be expected from a D2C brand also that how fast the deliveries can happen. So it becomes a very huge challenge for any brand to keep replicating their stocks at multiple location, and India being such a big country and having different weathers and things like that. So it's very difficult for any D2C brand to keep replicating and keep giving that kind of an experience. Honestly, a very big challenge, addition to what Chirag mentioned. What we are doing to cover it up is we're just learning every day. I think every day is a new learning where we are trying to solve one or the other problem. One day we think about Facebook as one channel where the maximum promotion or advertisement that happens. How do we figure out more channels now? Figuring out affiliates, figuring out the different modes that are possible where the consumer is to figure out and do the sales. Honestly, we are working towards heavily on the logistics also. How do we ensure that the fastest delivery happens? Of course, we are not promising what e-commerce giants are promising, but still we are trying to solve how do we predict inventory better, how do we replicate inventory better, how do we give that real-time promises that the giants are giving. So all these things we are working. There is some tech enablement that has come in place now. Probably, if you would have asked when we started in 2014-15, running a website was itself a humongous task, right? You did not have any enablers. Now the enablers are there. Everybody is trying to solve small problems one by one. And I think in coming years, we will also be ready that D2C websites will be able to give the similar experience how the giants are also giving. So I think everybody is working toward it. And I think other than using enablers and working closely with them to make the overall ecosystem stronger is what we are also doing.
Right. Just a follow-up question, because you mentioned enablers here. Of course, they're playing a significant role in the e-commerce industry. What, according to you, has their role been in the D2C space, and have you partnered with any of them, any of the enablers recently, and what has been your experience so far?
I think we are working with most of the enablers. We are working with Chirag also. We are working with GoKwik as one of the payment gateway partner. So what all these enablers are helping us in terms of bringing or making the overall transaction faster, right? For an example, GoKwik is solving for a faster transaction where prediction also comes in, what kind of where to deliver, what not to deliver, helping us to solve for COD, getting better conversion rate for overall ecosystem. So that is also a very, very big relief for brands like us. So that is one. We are taking a lot of order management tools that we are working with enablers there. We are working with enablers on notification and ensuring that right communication at right time reaches out to the consumer for their logistical deliveries, their order updates, their return updates. So we are using a lot of them. I think GoKwik is, of course, one of the biggest one that we are using at this point of time.
Why is democratization in e-commerce an important sort of need of the hour, and what kind of products are you building these days to sort of provide a superior customer experience?
So think about it that when we said that we want to provide similar type of experience outside of Amazon, Flipkart, and our realization was that it requires heavy upfront expenditure in terms of tech and data science to build out such products. What, from a financial aspect, the way to look at this is that we convert fixed cost into marginal cost for all D2C brands.
Right.
By building out such products upfront, we incur all the fixed costs and then we convert it into a marginal cost because they pay as per usage. So that's largely, from a financial point of view, if I were to explain that, this is what, enablers do in total. From a democratizing shopping experience point of view, we, of course, our endeavor is to go out and solve for across all buckets in the build by partner approach, where we want to partner with certain people, certain enablers who are doing really well in certain domains. But we started with, the number one or the most affected one is the conversion bucket, wherein we said that, okay, let's look at problems here and then let's go about solving them. So in the conversion, as we were talking, that the number one bigger one is that in India, cash on delivery is huge and that suffers from this interesting large problem of RTO, which we thought that is an interesting tech data science problem and let's solve for it. And we've solved that up to that extent of 20-25% reduction for many, many brands. And largely, why we are able to solve it is that we looked at it very differently. When we started the company, we looked at data and we looked at the problem differently. Everyone, including if you go in the industry, the KPI of RTO is today owned by logistic guys. Whereas we said that this problem is, or at least the logistic is a consequence of something. This problem largely rests on the prediction of consumer intent, that what is the intent of this transaction. And hence, we are in the business of predicting consumer intent at checkout. And that's what we do, and that's how we predict, and basis that we take further, separate actions. And we like to believe that, enable all D2C brands in terms of taking intelligent actions. That, we have seen the world. In fact, I used to do that apply OTP verification on everyone or apply IVR confirmation on everyone. Now we are able to give, risk-based segregation, and you are able to do different actions basis that, which of course, means that people who are good, they don't have any friction. People who have demonstrated or who are showing lower intent now have a friction in their process. Similarly, we started to look at payments. While payments in India, and I have been to various different countries in Southeast Asia and US, India, I think, is leading in terms of payments. But the way, at least an e-commerce merchant would want to solve payments, that is not solved for. So we looked at it from that angle. Think of it that, there are NPCI downs and everyone has done all the effort to bring the user to that end of the transaction. You don't want to lose that user on that transaction. So can you punch the order on COD on that front and then, over time convert that to cash to prepaid, all of that stuff. So we do that orchestration really well. And then followed by, we'll start to look at that 75% of add to carts are abandoned. Can we do something there? So there we
Right.
started to look at personalization. How do we pre-fill addresses? And the add to cart journey or the post add to cart journey is that you log in, you fill up your addresses, then you do discount, shipping, payments, and then the thank you page. We do all of that. From a front end point of view, that's like 5 6 modules. From on the back end, it's like 27 modules. We today support 2700 plus discount code configurations. In India, 85% of transactions happen with a discount code. So it's a tool which all merchants want to use prolifically, because every 1 rupee saved there is a direct gross margin addition. So we do bunch of these things across, and now of course going deeper with merchants, keeping a very close eye, close ear to the what merchants' voices, and continuing to build there.
Right. Gaurav, personalization, of course, is key in enabling an enhanced customer experience today. How are you sort of creating that experience at Noise, and how dependent are you on technology and sort of data science for that?
See, I think with respect to the basic things that one can do for the personalization at D2C website is having the pre-filled information about the consumers. That's the first sort of a thing which first makes a transaction very fast. Consumer don't need to go and fill all those details. So these are all now solved problems. What we are working is to figure out if we can have different page views for different consumer. If somebody is probably if we can predict if a consumer is a male or a female, we can try and showcase the right set of product. We know that we don't want to. So idea is that we want to reduce the journey of the consumer. If, for an example, if he's gonna using the for a female has just come in, so we would try and showcase the product which probably matches towards her choices.
Chirag, quickly, how are you at GoKwik sort of turning to technology and data science to provide personalization?
So the way we look at this is, we like to divide this into 3 pillars, which is most used, most rewarded, most trusted. And basis that, start to define, let's say I'm telling you the framework for payments, wherein we look at most used, most rewarded, most trusted, and then figure out that what payment options should be shown to that particular user, so that it helps in better conversion rate. Similarly, just a basic cut of new versus repeat, to what Gaurav was saying. If somebody is repeat on the same merchant, then we know that what's going to happen to that transaction. What payment method are they going to use? In fact, we are moving to that stage. We are experimenting that can we make it really invisible, wherein just one click and we use a BNPL provider and your transactions done. We believe that a lot of this personalization will help merchants realize better GMV, improve their conversion rate.
Gaurav, we are now in the middle of that festive season. So how is this festive season turning out for you? And what's been your strategy this year to make the most of this season?
So I think the way we've already started, we have just finished the Diwali first wave sales from the marketplaces, and the kind of response that we have received, honestly, is exceptional. We've done more than 1 million units in just 6 days' time, which was highest ever for a brand like us. And I think we were just preparing it from last 3-4 months. In all the departments, whether it is marketing, whether it is inventory planning, whether it is portfolio, whether it is design and everything. So I think that has paid off well for us as a brand.
Chirag, same question to you. How are you seeing the trend now, with the festive season, between D2C brands and then, of course, with marketplaces?
So typically what we have seen is that October is typically the BAU, and November, December is when everyone really ramps up on the D2C channel as well. From a overall trend perspective, October, of course, initial days, but it has started well. Typically on the same path, or probably I would say it'll end up being 15%, 20% higher than September. And we should see a higher jump in numbers in November and December. That's where we have historically seen D2C really ramping up. And then marketplaces go muted, and consumers have more time, etc. So that's the trend, at least, which we are seeing.
Interesting. On that note, let me come to closing comments from both of you. Gaurav, what exciting things can we expect from Noise in the future?
I think a lot of exciting things. I mean, like I mentioned about the noise labs, a lot of innovative and futuristic product. One should expect a brand probably thinking of creating the technology for future is what you should expect from noise, and it should not be limiting ourselves for India. We should be thinking about going global.
Absolutely. And Chirag, for you, and what is in store for GoKwik?
I think we would want to solve more deeper problems which require a lot of tech data science. So we're working on retention as a problem statement,
Right.
which is now becoming the flavor of the season. So there you should expect some more products. Of course, going deeper on existing product, which is payments, RTO. In fact, there we are doing experiments every week. So expect a lot more different possibly features to get launched and help merchants realize on different their demands. Similarly, on discount engine is where we are building something state of the art specific to India needs. So that's another thing which we are building. And then over time we would want to move towards discovery and selection as well, but that's still I would still say that's 9-12 months away. uh, Continuing to focus on conversion retention and hopefully launching, we see that some of these opportunities do exist in, we like to call this as breakout nations in e-commerce, do exist in LATAM, Southeast Asia, GCC as well. Hopefully doing some pilots over the next 3-6 months there and launching there.
Right. On that note, thank you, gentlemen, for taking time out and joining us in this fabulous discussion. So, from
Thanks,
all of
Gaurav.
us at Forbes India,
Thank
we
you.
want to
Bye-bye.
wish both of you the best of luck.